guys, it's Rachel. Today I'm going to do my favourite books of 2015. Now I know it's the end of January, but I have only started BookTube, so it's not my fault that I'm late really. So I have 7 books to show you, but some of them are actually series, so without further ado, let's get into it. Starting at number 7, I have A Song of Ice and Fire series, better known as the Game of Thrones series. So this is Storm of Swords, Steel and Snow and A Dance of Dragons After the Feast. These two aren't particularly my 2 favourites or anything, I just picked up any 2 in the series. This series is amazing, and I know all over BookTube, a lot of booktubers don't want to read this series because they are really long. They're like 800 pages each and there's like a lot of them. But honestly, I think everyone should read these books. They are amazing. I've read every one now. I'm just waiting for Winds of Winter to come out when George R.R. Martin finally finishes writing it. Yeah, these books are so good. I'm not gonna lie, they are a difficult read. The writing can be hard to get into sometimes, and because there are so many characters, there's obviously going to be characters you hate, and every chapter is a different character's point of view, so there's always those chapters that with the characters you don't really care about that you kind of have to struggle through, but it's so worth it for the good chapters with your favourite characters and the plot that goes on. There's so much goes on in this series, it's just amazing, and I think it's better than the TV show personally. I'm actually wearing a Game of Thrones top right now, so yeah, quite fitting. I actually didn't mean to do that, but yeah. Next at number 6 is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven, I think. Don't know how you say that, but yeah. This book, it's such an emotional roller coaster. It's about this boy called Theodore Finch, and basically he hates his life, he's suicidal, he's depressed, his life is all over the place. Then he meets this girl called Violet Markey, and there's like a friendship there that turns into something more. And honestly, this whole book is just an emotional roller coaster. I cried my eyes out reading this. It was just beautifully written. The characters they just crush your soul. And there's one quote, it's actually on the back of the book. It's one of my favourite book quotes of all time. And it's Finch saying this to Violet, and he says, "You are all the colours in one at full brightness." I just can't with this book. I just can't. Next at number 5 is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. This book was just so beautiful, such an easy read. You know, when you're just in the mood for a break from like all these heavy fantasy books or whatever, you just want a nice, simple, easy read. This was what I chose when I was in that mood, and I just completely fell in love with the story. It's about a girl called Anna who moves to Paris, and she goes to a school there. She doesn't really know much French, and she kind of feels like she doesn't belong. She's kind of left out, I guess. And then she meets this boy called Saint Clair, Etienne Saint Clair. They all just call him Saint Clair, and he is just one of my favourite fictional characters of all time. I'm so in love with him. He's just amazing, and he has a girlfriend, but she likes him, and like I think he likes her, and it's just the whole story. It's just so beautiful. Honestly, it's one of those stories that you just fly through and it makes your heart melt. I just loved this book. I really, really did. I read the next 2 as well, Lola and the Boy Next Door and Isla and the Happily Ever After, but this one remains my favourite. Next at number 4 is Skulduggery Pleasant and the Dying of the Light. This is the last book, the 9th and last book in the Skulduggery Pleasant series, which is one of my favourite book series of all time, and it absolutely breaks my heart that no one on BookTube talks about this series because it is amazing. I'm not going to spoil this book, obviously. I'm not going to say anything about this book because it's the last book and I don't want to spoil anybody, but the first book is just called Skulduggery Pleasant. Yeah, this is by Derek Landy, by the way, who is an Irish author, and I'm Irish, so it makes me proud to be Irish, so yeah. But anyway, the first book is about a girl called Stephanie, and her uncle dies, and basically she runs into this mysterious man who turns out to be Skulduggery Pleasant. He's a skeleton detective, and their friendship grows. She joins him on like adventures and stuff. It's just the relationship between, well, in the first book her name is Stephanie, in the later books her name is Valkyrie for certain reasons, but the relationship between Valkyrie and Skulduggery is one of my favourite relationships of all time. It's just so beautiful and hilarious. Derek Landy's writing is just so witty and funny and brilliant, and I just am in love with this series. And the great thing about it is that there's 9 books, and yet I've loved every single one of them. Not one book disappointed me, which never happens. So yeah, this series is amazing. I really think you guys should read it. Next at number 3 is the Throne of Glass series. This is the first book, Throne of Glass and the Queen of Shadows, which is the 4th book, and these are by Sarah J. Maas. This series, I started it last year, I heard really great things about it, and I flew through this book and absolutely fell in love with it. Then I read the rest of the series, and this only came out a few months ago, so now we're all waiting for the next book because oh my god, this book. Honestly, if you compare these two books, they are so different. I mean, this book is obviously just the introduction to the characters and the plot and stuff, but by this book, so much has happened. The plot has gone, wow. And there's so much going on. There's just twists and turns all over the place. It's just such, this book just blew my mind. I haven't decided which in this series is my favourite yet. I mean, I loved this book, but at the same time, there's a few things I didn't like about it, but honestly this series is amazing. It's about a girl called Selena Sardothian, who is one of my favourite fictional characters of all time. But she's an assassin, and basically she gets taken into the castle and she's trying to become the king's champion so she can get her freedom in a few years. And it's just, the characters, the writing, everything about this series is incredible. I just love it so much. So much. Next at number 2 is the Lunar Chronicles series. Honestly, I thought I'd read this book in 2014, but then I checked Goodreads and apparently I only read it last year. Feels like forever ago. But anyway, this series is absolutely unbelievable. Oh my god, I did not think I would love it as much as I did. I started reading this book and just was hooked from the very first page. This is Cinder and Winter, the first and last book. These are by Marissa Meyer, by the way. They're all based on fairy tales. Cinder is obviously based on Cinderella. Scarlet, the second one, is based on Little Red Riding Hood. Cress, the third one, is based on Rapunzel, and this is Winter, which is based on Snow White. And just this series is, there's like twists and turns. Cinder is a cyborg, which just drew me in completely straight away. I mean, look, the book covers are beautiful. The writing, the characters are some of the best characters I've ever read about. Oh my god. And the ships, the OTPs in this series, they just make your heart race. Honestly, they are so well written, so perfect together. Oh my god, this series, I just love it so much. I don't even want to, I could go on for hours about this series. This Winter only came out a while ago, and it's the 4th and last book in the series, and honestly, I'm heartbroken that this series is over because I just loved it so much. This book was such a perfect ending to the series, and I just want to reread it already. This series just, I get so emotional thinking about this series. I love it so much. Please read it. And finally, number 1, my favourite book of 2015 is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Oh my god, this book absolutely, I don't even know how to put it into words. It just made my heart melt. Rainbow Rowell wrote Fangirl, which I read a few years ago, and that is about a girl called Kath who writes fan fiction based on these novels she's obsessed with about Simon and Baz. Simon is a mage and Baz is a vampire, and she writes fan fiction about those two like being together, being in love, and I loved that book. Then Rainbow Rowell came out with this gem. She wrote her own version, her own story of Simon and Baz, and oh my god, it blew my mind. I loved it so much. Everything about it. It was hilarious, it was emotional, it was beautiful, it was, oh my god, this book, I could marry this book. I want to reread it again so badly, but I have so many other books to read. Oh my god, Simon and Baz, I just can't even. These two just kill me. Baz is one of my favourite fictional guys ever. He is such a badass, he's so sarcastic, and I love him so much. Rainbow Rowell is just one of my favourite authors ever. She just knows how to write a good romance, and this is just, it's kind of like a Harry Potter-esque book. Simon and Baz go to a magic school, and there's the mage, and it's just, magic and everything. Guys, you have to read this book. I recommend, you don't have to read Fangirl before reading this, but I think it would be a better reading experience if you do read Fangirl first and then get onto this one, because you know the characters better, and oh my god, you will just fall in love with this book. I absolutely loved it. So those are my favourite books of 2015. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it. I just love talking about my favourite books. I could go on for hours about them, honestly. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I will hopefully be uploading another video soon. So I shall see you then. Slán le!